Hey there, and welcome to the Origins Reboot Redesigns for the vessels. I've decided to sit down and do a speed art with commentary video to redesign these characters. Originally I was doing this on live streams, but I think this is going to be a much faster process, and also I can spend a lot more time being very meticulous over specific details. So without further ado, let's begin with our lovely Ivy. Ivy is a Russian blue cat. And for her redesign, I didn't really want to stray too far from the purple, because her purple color is pretty iconic, and although Russian blues are obviously more of a grayish blue, periwinkle type of color, I decided to stick with more of the vibrant violet color because it's just Ivy. I couldn't imagine her otherwise. I did play around with the colors a little bit, but the grays and the blues just didn't feel like it was her anymore, so I stuck with the purple. She's always been a very slender, kind of lanky, kind of round-shaped character. She has very short hair, so she just has this almost Sphinx cat look to her in my mind, that she's just a very sleek character. So I wanted to include that in her new design more so than the previous one. And as you can see, she's definitely changed slightly more blue in her coloration than her previous versions, but I think that it helps stand out a little bit more. I'm not afraid to use very vibrant colors in my work, so I went ahead and went a little crazy with the colors, and I like how they pop. This is already a cat cartoon where they talk and have intricate little lives. So if I want a purple cat, I'm gonna have a purple cat, period. Next up is Heather, of course, our lovely, lovely little doggo. She has always had poofy, curly hair since the very beginning, and I really wanted to sort of play into her Cocker Spanielness, because she is a Cocker Spaniel. And those dogs typically have very fluffy little legs, almost like little leg warmers is what I call them. And so I really wanted to make sure I included those lovely leg warmers on Heather because they're just so adorable, and then her little toesies can just pop out at the bottom, and I think it's adorable. Of course, I struggled on the ear length a little bit. I definitely wanted her ears to match more of the real life version of the dog, where they are very triangular and they are more thick on the bottom and thinner on the top. But honestly, it wasn't really working with my style too well, so I just kind of had them floof outwards at the bottom and settled for that. As far as her tumors go, I realized in a lot of my drawings they were never really depicted well enough. My art style just doesn't really suit that sort of, I guess, graphic imagery. So I decided, hey, Heather had a fantastic owner, probably definitely would make sure it's all cleaned up and nice and safe inside of some bandages so that way it doesn't get any worse. Usually, when you take dogs to the vets, they will cover up things like that to ensure that dogs don't lick at it or make it any worse by, like, you know, sitting down in some dirt or something. So I made sure to cover it up with a nice little bandage so that way it is hopefully going to heal as best as it can. Obviously, we know what happens to Heather at the end of the series, but nonetheless, I figured the bandage was a nice touch. It draws a little more attention to the area, in my opinion, but I still wanted to make it a little more pink, so it would blend in with the character design a little bit more. As for her collar, I definitely wanted to change it up a little bit, so it's not just a typical little collar. I wanted it to have the little star to match the lantern bearer symbol, so that way she feels more connected to her god through the lovely necklace she wears every day, made for her by her owner. At the very end, I've decided to get rid of the extremely different type of pink I had as some accent colors and just went with a slightly darker cotton candy color. And there you have it! Beautiful redesign of Heather. For Thistle, I kind of went crazy. I know Thistle is this rough and tough buff character, so I went all out on the shapes. I was like very angular, sharp turns, very triangular kind of shapes with Thistle, especially because they have that chip in their ear, they have that X on their face, and I really wanted to make sure that they were just a big, burly kind of character because they are strong and they work hard to be who they are, and I really wanted them to be loud and proud. So I definitely amped up that red and wanted that red to really stick out. And I really wanted their eyes to also stick out because they are one of the most soulful characters in the show, in my opinion. They are just so proud of themselves and who they are, and they are not afraid to be who they are and be loud about it. With the scar, I decided to do a little bit of colored line art to make it blend in a little better so it doesn't stick out nearly as bad, but it's still there and it looks a little bit nicer in my opinion. And of course, Thistle is a Manx cat, so they have a little tuft of a tail at the very end. And I just added a lot of floof. Lots of floof for Thistle, and that is the redesign. Ebony is going to be so much fun to redesign because, of course, in my previous art styles, I didn't really jump around too terribly much or experiment. I was very comfortable in making everybody the same exact size and the same exact shape. Obviously, I have grown out of that. I sure hope so in the last decade. But yes, I have certainly grown a lot, and I loved playing with Ebony's shapes. Ebony has a very awesome type of dog breed as a Great Dane. Just a fantastic opportunity for having a big, shapy dog, and boy oh boy did I have fun with it. I decided to give Ebony quite a big nose because I think it's cute, and most Great Danes don't have their ears up like that, but I decided that that was kind of a staple for Ebony. Ebony typically has his ears up, not flopped down, so I decided to keep those up. And then, of course, if you remember in Origins, Ebony, when he was younger, had a lovely little bandana, and I decided to keep that in his redesign because I feel like it reminds him of his roots of where he came from, and it also just adds a little accessory onto him because his previous design, he was a little boring in my opinion. He's just a gray dog, so I wanted him to be more than a gray dog and have his little rugged bandana from his childhood, and you know, maybe one day pass it on to Daisy when they find their way back home. And that is the redesign for Ebony. For Rose, we actually did a redesign of Rose on a previous live stream, and I fell in love with the design. I absolutely fell in love with the design. There was literally not much I would change about this. I just hinted the colors slightly brighter, slightly more saturated, and of course we got rid of that plaid on the end of her tail. Decided to go a little more like her IRL design, like the color point, and stick a little more realistic. And of course she has lots of hidden hearts in her design, like in her nose, the top of her head, she has a tuft that's shaped like a heart, and then also a little floof that's shaped like a heart. And everything is just sort of like fluffy and round, because I feel like she's just a very quaint character. And of course her bandana now actually has a rose on it. Of course when I go to redesign Violet, I will be doing a violet bandana with the same exact design, but with violets on it, so that way they are matching. And that is Rose, everybody. Still have those beautiful lilac eyes. Oh, Cypress, I've been so excited to redesign you! So, I definitely wanted to go blue, because Cypress's eyes are blue. I've always associated this icy blue with Cypress. For whatever reason, that has just been the color I see when I think of Cypress. So I stuck with the blues, and I went more like the actual IRL Husky design for Cypress. Of course, I wanted him to be edgy. I knew I wanted that hair to be in a fringe. I really wanted him to be emo, okay? I just thought it would be super fun. And also just add a little bit to his mysterious kind of character, his solemn character. So I decided to have it cover one of his eyes, because I feel that really fits Cypress as a character, as he only sees the world one way, and he sees it through half of the lens he really should. He sees it in a very negative light when he could see it in a more positive and fine balance, but he chooses to only see it one way. So I figured that would be very symbolic to his design. I had all of his floofs sort of face downwards because he is a very down character. His ears are down. The only thing that I decided to change was raise his tail up and sort of curl it, because I thought that that would be kind of an interesting design. I, for whatever reason, thought of a scorpion. So I was like, you know, scorpions raise their tails up when they are kind of in attack mode or feel endangered, and I feel like Cypress is always kind of on edge, so that's why I kind of did that. I wanted to go with this little bit of purple, but in the end I decided to go with the lovely blues because, my goodness, it just turned out so beautiful. And those icy eyes to top it off. Cypress, you are amazing. Fennel's redesign, I had to do something. I had to do something drastic because The only comment I ever get on this specific episode is, "Oh my god, it's Jay Feather!" And let me just say, my mistake for making a cat character who is blind also be blue and striped. Totally my bad. It's not my fault that somebody else's drama cats look like my drama cats, okay? But anyways, I decided that if I was going to have a Jay Feather, I'm just going to have a Jay Feather. Nobody's going to stop commenting those things. Nobody's going to stop comparing my art to somebody else's. So I was like, fine, fine, fine. Here we go. Let's just go ahead and make him blue as all can be. Some lovely periwinkles, some creams, some oranges. Let's just go ahead and make him look more like his IRL version, that lovely tabby cat. I wanted to add the white onto his design, which I think is probably the most jarring thing about the new design versus the old designs, but the old designs just kind of lacked something. He just looked a little too plain to me, so I decided to add that cream because it just draws you into the face and to his eyes, which is very important for his character, obviously. He also just has very long, unkept fur. It's all springing out everywhere, and that's always been a feature of his that I've never been really good at expressing because I never stepped out of that comfort zone, but here we are now. The tufts are growing out of the ears, there's fur everywhere, and he is just a mess, but he does not care. He's just comfortable, and that's what's important. Go ahead and get out now. Go ahead and say, "Oh my gosh, this is just Jay Feather. You just made it even worse. Jay Feather. Oh my gosh, Jay Feather." Go ahead and get that out of your system. This is Fennel from 12 and Origins. He's a gay cat that lives in Brazil. I don't know what to tell you. He's not Jay Feather, but if you want to believe so, that's fine. I'm not gonna stop you. Curse you warrior cats. It's Lupin's turn. I've been so excited to recolor Lupin because, oh my goodness, the old Lupin colors remind me of old SpongeBob colors, where I'm like, "Lupin, are you okay? You look kind of sickly, my guy." So I decided to make him a lovely gold, just a adorable, happy gold. Really play with those colors, the oranges, the pinks, and of course, a lot of people say that, hey, some of the vessels have too many common eye colors, like greens and blues, but Lupin's eye color was honestly supposed to be gray, so now they're actually gray, and it's displayed a little bit better. It's still slightly blue toned because I don't like using harsh blacks, whites, and grays in my work anymore. So they're slightly blue, but they are gray now. Lupin's leg, the spot that is on Lupin's leg and has always kind of been there, was actually supposed to be scars. I just didn't add that sort of detail in my early work because I was intimidated to do so, on the account of not wanting to upset anybody or myself while drawing it, but I've kind of gotten over that and have realized some people do have scars that they cannot hide, and that they are very important to their lives and their stories, and a lot of people wear their scars quite proudly. And I don't think Lupin would be one to hide it. I think Lupin would just accept it and say, "Yep, that's just something that happened to me, but I'm okay now." So that's why I decided to include it. That is just a pivotal part of this design. I think that you all will enjoy and see in the future episodes of Season 2 of Origins. We have Poppy Girl! A favorite of all of ours, and she is gonna be so fluffy and short and cute and adorable, and I am so excited about it. I've had her design in the back of my head for a long time. So I went ahead, and while I was designing this, I decided I'm going to play with the IRL colors a little bit more, because Lotus, her grandmother, has sort of the cherry brown color to her color palette, and I wanted her to kind of look more like her grandmother, so I started playing with that. And of course we have to keep this scarf mint. It is an iconic scarf. It couldn't be Poppy without her mint scarf, and her lovely blue eyes, like the snow. And I knew that I wanted her ears to be pink and her nose to be pink because, oh my gosh, look how cute! But at the end, I decided I really see Poppy more as a blue. I really see her more as this very dark, almost purple blue. So I went ahead and changed that so it looks a little bit more like her original design. I don't want her to look too similar to Willow or too similar to Lotus, so this is going to be her distinction, and I think I really enjoy it. I think it's just perfect. Mallow got a glow up for sure. I took so much inspiration from the IRL German Shepherd for Mallow's design because the shapes are so much fun, and Mallow's always had a pretty interesting face shape compared to a lot of characters, having the round cheeks and then the fluff on top. But I really am enjoying how much my art has grown in the terms of having different character designs and shapes. And I also went ahead and changed Mallow's colors quite drastically, because Willow and Mallow had extremely similar color palettes in the past, and I had people saying that they got them confused all the time. So I went ahead and changed that. I kept Mallow's eyes a very periwinkle blue. Not so much like a dark blue like I had previously imagined, but I'm really loving these periwinkle eyes because Mallow's, in real life, the actual flower, are purples and periwinkles. That being said, I decided to add a collar onto Mallow as well, because Jared, his owner, is a very good owner, and I don't think he would leave Mallow colorless. I think that he would very proudly have his name and phone number on Mallow's neck, so that way if he ever gets lost, he can be found. And that is Mallow's redesign. I'm really enjoying it. Of course, I went for a more orange in the beginning, but I toned it down just a little bit so you can still tell that it's our Mallow boy. Here's one I know everyone's excited for. Willow. Willow is literally a fan favorite, and it's not hard to see why. Willow is just precious in every way, and I love him to death, and I've always loved his design. I just went a little more practical with this design. I decided to add in a front harness with a lot more detail, and also give Willow a medical collar, so that way he has a tag that explains all of his medical conditions, and of course probably explains that he is microchipped and that he needs to be returned home because he has certain medications he needs to take if he's ever lost. I think displaying this medical collar is going to be really important, because a lot of people in real life carry medical IDs or bracelets or even necklaces that help people identify if they have severe allergies, conditions, if they're ever in danger or lost. Of course, the harness just makes more sense, it's just practical, it actually will hold Willow in there. The previous design wasn't very good at displaying that, it just kind of looks like he's sitting on top with one strap, but no, it's just an actual harness, goes right on over his head. And then with the colors, I decided to go more with the IRL design once again. Except when I was doing the IRL design, I was getting a little frustrated. Nothing was really going with Willow's eyes. I really wanted the pink in the ears, the pink on the nose, but goodness, I just was having such a hard time with the colors. And then I started to realize I always associate Willow with cherry blossoms because Willow lives in Japan, and I really wanted there to be some cherry-like colors, some cherry wood, something that reminded me of cherries, or cherry blossoms with Willow's design. So, Pink Willow is now our reality, and I couldn't be happier with that because, oh my gosh, we live in a timeline where Willow is pink, and that's adorable! It's like pinkish red, and it's adorable. The eyes ended up turning out really good, and of course I gave Willow a little snaggletooth because I thought that was really cute, and this is the final design. The last of our vessels, Rue, Mama Rue. Goodness, Somali cats are just beautiful, and I was a fool for not playing with the colors and designs more at the beginning. But that's why we're doing it now. So for Rue, I decided to definitely go with a lot more shape like the IRL version. Very fluffed out cheeks and fluffed out chest, but also a little more heavier because she is a bigger character. Has some round edges as well, which I feel like fits her character, where she has these very soft spots, some very round angular spots, but then she also has these kind of floofed down, spiky kind of edges, and I feel like that really fits her. Decided to change her tail and back a little bit to match the Somali, to have that lovely stripe right down the middle, and also it just reminds me of a chipmunk. And Chipmunk Rue is a reality I want to live in, so now we live in it. You're welcome. Of course, we had to keep her freckles and her green eyes, but I decided to add in a couple of little stripes to, you know, really enhance that chipmunkness and give her some very rounded ears. The last second, I decided to add a little spot around her mouth to match the IRL design a little bit more because it just draws you into her lovely face with all of her freckles, and I believe that this is a great final design. So that has been all of the redesigns for the vessels for the Origins reboot. None of these designs are final, I just really wanted to experiment and put something out there and really show the growth of every single character. Ivy looks pretty similar to what she used to, but obviously the shapes have gotten a lot better. Heather, same thing. Shapes have gotten a lot better, but now she has a little bit more color to her and a lot more thoughtfulness when it comes to her cancer, her god, and everything about her character being in her actual design. Thistle obviously has changed a lot in the sense that they have gotten big, spiky, and fluffy, and adorable, and they're also just a lot more brightly colored, which fits their personality. Ebony is just a giant, lovely boy who now has a little bit of design to him as far as having the bandana and a couple of really unique shapes to his face and body, and of course he has those pointed ears. Rose is completely different. No more plaid, still have the lovely bandana and lovely lilac eyes, but is now more like her IRL self, the color point cat, and now she has a little bit more colors to her. And a lot of hidden hearts. Cypress, of course, is now emo. I mean, he was emo before, but now he's really emo. And of course he has that curly tail, lots of floofs going downwards to really match how down he is in spirits, and those piercing icy eyes. Love it so much. Fennel, of course, is still J-Feather to many of you, but he is not to me. He is just beautiful. I love his new cream in his design and all the floofs going everywhere, and the orange with the blue looks lovely. Lupine is no longer got the suds. And now is a beautiful golden baby boy, showing off his scars with pride. Poppy, of course, has a little bit of the different colors to her now, a little bit more blues, but it really matches her snowy snowshoe self, and I love how her scarf is still just as iconic. Mallow, of course, definitely is more orange in coloration, has a collar, eyes are a little more piercing, but I feel that it really makes him stick out more so you won't get him confused with Willow because they are dog and cat and they are very different. Speaking of Willow, Willow looks fantastic! Willow is just a little cherry blossom boy now and has a lovely harness and collar, and it could not have turned out better. Rue has grown so much, she's so vibrant, it has so many colors and patterns and just really helps her stand out a little bit more, and I cannot wait to design her kiddos too. And that concludes our redesigns. I'm going to be doing a series of videos doing batches of characters from 12 and Origins as I redesign them episode by episode. Stay tuned for season 2 of Origins, which we're going to be starting to work on very soon. I'm going to be live streaming script writing, editing, drawing, everything imaginable for Origins, so you can look out for that. And in the meantime, enjoy these lovely speed arts and commentary. Let me know in the comments below which one's your favorite, or if you have any suggestions for anything you'd change about a character's design, whether it be in this video or a future video. Thank you all so much for watching, thank you all so much for the support with the series, and I can't wait to see you all in the next video.